name is Mike Easton. I've been here in the Delaware area for probably most of my life. Born and raised for most of it. Unlike some of the other native Delawareans, though, I have done some traveling. So just a quick fun fact about myself. I've got 4 states left to go, so I can check the box on all 50 states. And but I do got to tell you, I think Delaware really ranks up there, not just from some of the tax benefits that we'll talk about in a few minutes, but I just think quality of life, which Judy will talk about some as well. I think Delaware is just a great place to be. Let's see. I am a CPA. I've been practicing for roughly 25 years now. I've been with a firm by the name of Horty Horty. I've been with the firm for about 17 years. We have an office here in Dover and also one up in Wilmington. And we service a whole host of clients, a lot of businesses, but also the business owners and just individuals alike. Our client base covers not only just Delaware, but we do most of the surrounding states, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Jersey, of course, as well. Why don't we go ahead and get started? So I guess what we're here to talk about today is primarily what some of the tax benefits are with living here in Delaware. So we're going to hit on some of those. I think probably the most obvious, as you all probably know, Delaware is one of only 4 states in the nation that doesn't have sales tax. So that certainly is a big benefit. Delaware always has the claim to fame as home of tax-free shopping, and we certainly have our fair share of places to go and shop. Really the closest out of the 4 other states that don't have sales taxes, New Hampshire, and all the others are out in the Midwest. So I think probably what first comes to mind there is bitter cold, right? So we do have our fair share of cold here in Delaware, but at least we do get the 4 seasons that kind of rotate. So that's certainly positive. Probably the next thing that comes to mind as far as tax benefits in the state of Delaware, I would say would be real estate taxes. We do rank about the 4th lowest in the country. It's about a 0.53% per thousand. And so, your average on a median priced home, say you put $250,000 or so, you're looking at like $1,200 of real estate taxes, which I think is probably dramatically different from the states that you folks probably live in. And just to kind of give you a feel for that, so Delaware, I said, is probably ranked about 4th. Maryland is probably the next tax-friendliest state as it relates to real estate taxes, and they probably rank in at about 27. Pennsylvania is about 39th. New York is 41st, and you guys could probably all guess, and a lot of you live there, Jersey is probably about the worst in the country as it relates to real estate taxes. Excuse me. So I know there's some folks here from Virginia. I did not. Virginia's about a mixed state as far as it relates to overall tax benefits. It's kind of somewhat in the middle there, but I didn't pick on Virginia. I was focused a little bit more on these other states. Where are some of the other folks from? Is it primarily New Jersey and Maryland? Yeah. Okay. So Maryland, believe it or not, is actually not too terribly bad as it relates to taxes. I would say Maryland and Pennsylvania are about probably next in line as it relates to Delaware, but Delaware certainly has them beat. So as far as another benefit for living in Delaware let me back up, I'm sorry, on real estate taxes still. There is discounts that are offered to residents that live in the area in Delaware for, I think it's 3 years. Then you have to go into the local county, and they will reduce your real estate taxes, primarily taking out the school tax portion. So it does result in several $100 savings. There is also incentives for veterans out there. Unfortunately, I didn't think to really look too closely at that. That's not something that I come across every day. But if anybody, I'll leave some cards on the back table. If there's anybody that had a question specific to this area that I didn't address, I'd be happy to talk to you or make it accessible to the folks that they'd like to do. Next, Delaware is most favorable as it relates to state income tax. Delaware is in the top 10 in the country, and we are number 1 in the Northeast region. We're probably countrywide. I've seen some various opinions, but we're somewhere anywhere between 2nd and 5th as far as being the best and lowest state income tax. And one of the reasons that is we have a graduated scale. So the lowest rate that we have is 2.2%, and that's on a couple of $1,000, and then it goes up from there. Our maximum personal income tax rate is 6.6, which sounds a little bit high in relation to some others, but that's how the state kind of offsets the fact that we don't have any sales tax. So you really have to take a lot of things into consideration when you're looking at the tax benefits of Delaware. But I mentioned we're like anywhere from 2nd to 5th. All the states around us are nowhere even close. For example, Maryland is probably ranked about 35th, Pennsylvania 39th, New Jersey 42nd, and then New York is 46th. So clearly we're in a league of our own in Delaware as it relates to actual income tax. There are some specific other advantages related to Delaware income tax, and why we have a more favorable structure. We talked about the graduated rates instead of a flat tax rate. The other thing is Delaware does not tax Social Security benefits. There are other states that don't, but there still are plenty that do. So that's certainly a big plus. The other thing that Delaware has that's unique from other states is we have what's called a pension exclusion. And a lot of people get that confused because it isn't just specific to pension income. So that's something that you have to really be aware of. And so what that exclusion is, anybody that's 60 years or older, you can deduct $12,500 off of your Delaware income. And it isn't just, provided you have pension-related income. So $12,500 is the max. You can deduct up to, to that. But if you only had $5,000, you could deduct the $5,000. And for people that are under 60, you can deduct up to $2,000 of what's called pension income. So what qualifies as pension income? Obviously it's going to be normal pensions, 401k plans, and defined benefit plans that you might have from your employer. But aside from that, it also does include like dividends and interest. It also includes like rental income. If anybody has some investment property, that rental income would qualify for pension exclusion, and you could deduct up to the $12,500 on that. Another benefit in Delaware is if you're filing, if you don't itemize your deductions, meaning you don't, normally have, if you don't have mortgage interest and things that are going to get you above the threshold, you can take a standard deduction. Delaware standard deduction is pretty favorable, $3,250 for single, $6,500 for couples. But they also then kick in, if you're over 65, you do get an additional $2,500 deduction as a standard deduction. So that's favorable as well. Then Delaware also does what they call, you might be familiar with on your federal return, you have personal exemptions. And in Delaware, what they do is they give you $110 credit for an exemption, and then if you're over 60, you get an additional $110 credit to deduct. So, when you add all that up between income tax, you look at the no sales tax, you look at the favorable property taxes, all that adds up quick, and that's what that's why Delaware is ranked what we are. Two other items of interest as it relates to taxes. So Delaware does not have an inheritance tax. So we're one of the few states that don't have that. We're also one of the few states that then we do have an estate tax. But what Delaware does is they piggyback on federal, and federal right now has about a $5.4 million exclusion. So what that means is if your estate is valued less than $5.4 million, then you don't have any estate tax. So that's a pretty favorable rate or benefit as well. So I guess I was given about 15 minutes or so on that 13, but I'll try to entertain any questions. But I also have a couple of props that I wanted to tie into things. Does anybody have any questions offhand at the moment?
As far as Delaware's tax friendliness,
yes.
Are there any discussions in the legislature to change that, given the changes in the economy and so forth?
No, there hasn't been really lately. Delaware is well aware of the attractiveness and how it positively impacts our economy by getting folks like yourselves to relocate here. Sales tax, I don't think they're ever going to touch that, and I think that's probably our biggest benefit by living here. But likewise, property taxes, I mean, I have a lot of clients that are municipalities, and they're very hard pressed to really do anything with their property tax rates. They don't want to increase them because they don't want, they're trying to attract people and not turn them away. So I'm not aware of anything. I know you get out there legislatively as well, but I don't believe there's anything even remotely close on the horizon. So no one's going to yank the rug out from under you, I don't believe. Good question, though.
You said the state income tax is taxed at 2.2%, and then at some point
it goes up to 6.6. Well, I neglected to tell you is so that you're probably wanting the dollar range. 60,000, yeah. So 2,000 is 2 point, or maybe it's 5,000 at 2.2%, and then it gradually increases. So anything over $60,000 is taxed at 6.6%. Good question. Thanks for asking. That's what I get for not reading my list too closely. Yes.
What about disability income?
Disability income. If it's, I think it kind of depends on that. I'm trying to think the federal versus Delaware. I would have to, before I speak out of context, I would need to look at that. If you want to give me your number instead, I can reach out to you on that. Before I put it, you can give me something.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else with anything? Yes.
How about veterans benefits?
Yeah, so Delaware, I'm not aware offhand of any specific, other than with the real estate taxes. As far as income taxes, I don't think there's any specific benefit to veterans. Now, I'm not aware of many states that do. Does your home state have any specific? What do they do?
I'm not really sure exactly, but on the state tax, they decide.
See, I think the Delaware, the pension exclusion is how they try to accommodate veterans as well, because they're getting retirement money from the government. Yes.
Well, in my town in New Jersey, they gave me a $250 discount as a veteran off my property.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the same in Delaware. I think there is some benefits. Yeah, I would have to look at that because we don't really deal with the real estate tax piece of things. We're more, corporate and individual income taxes. So, I'll get plenty of folks' receipts on real estate taxes, but I don't pay as close attention to that. But I do know that I know the age, there's benefit, but I don't recall about specifics on veteran benefits. But again, I'd be happy to look at that. Yes.
I understand Delaware has a tax on car registration. So would people moving into the state have to pay a tax of some sort when you move in?
Yeah, well, so again, I am not as close to the DMV rules, but I will tell you that is how Delaware, you talked about any legislative matters as it relates to increasing income taxes and such, and what Delaware chose to do instead was to increase certain fees at DMV, but when you look at our surrounding states, those fees are still, you know, very low, and that's why they hadn't been increased in probably 25 years. So I think that was really just a matter of trying to adjust for cost of living type things. But your specific question, I'm not. Do you know much about that, Judy? About people coming in?
Once when you actually go in to register your vehicle and license it, there are fees.
Yeah, exactly. How those fees work, I couldn't tell you. But yeah, when you change your registration from out of state to in state, yeah, there will be, you know, some fees associated with that. But I don't
So that would be true if you bought a new vehicle in Delaware too.
Yeah, so there are, yes,
Yes.
yeah, and again, those are I would consider nominal in relation to what other states do. But you know, Delaware has to do some things to giving away no sales tax is a pretty big cost to the state, and so you know, obviously they're going to be looking for some ways to generate revenue. But you know, the things that I'm telling you today, you have to take all those into consideration as one, you know, big ball of wax, if you will, because you know, you can't look at just one individual item. You know, collectively, everything working together, that's what makes Delaware such a tax advantaged state. So I don't want to run too long, so if there are any other questions, maybe you can hit me at the end, but I did want to, I was told I had to add some humor to this, because I know talking taxes can be a little bit dry, so I'm going to do my best with a little bit of sense of humor. But so what I have here is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with back in the day. You know, we've got the little monkeys, little barrel monkeys here, right? You know how anybody with me here? Anybody remember the toy? Okay, everyone's staring at me with big blanks. You know, you pull the barrel monkeys out. So what I'm here to tell you is, what was that? Nobody remembers it? I remember this. Okay, they were much bigger than this, so apparently times are tough right now. So we're working with the small monkeys. But what I'm here to tell you is that you know, you ought to really consider living here at Noble's Pond here in Delaware, because as a result of doing so, you know, these monkeys represent all of the tax collectors and legislators in your respective state. And if you live here at Noble's Pond in Delaware, you'll have fewer monkeys in your pockets and on your back. Okay? And there's plenty more where those came from in the back if you want for your children, grandchildren, what have you. I have some other giveaways as well, so we're going to just run down the list here. What was the next one? We talked about you know, Delaware being the home of tax-free shopping. So here we have, you know, a shopping bag. Okay. So I'm here to tell you, if you choose to live here at Noble's Pond in Delaware, home of tax-free shopping, where you'll save, you'll have plenty of extra money to fill your bag with groceries and other good stuff here in Delaware. So there's some of those back there as well. And let's see, what's an accountant without a pen, right? So we have plenty of pens in the back. And so again, if you choose to live at Noble's Pond in Delaware, here you can ditch your Papermate and Bic pens and make your lists of all the fun things you're going to do in Delaware and all the good times you're going to have, and use this high-quality Horty pen. And so we also have, in the back, we have some water bottles. And so, you know, if you live here in Delaware at Noble's Pond, you can ditch your water tap, and you'll have enough money from the tax savings to fill this with, you know, maybe some Perrier or some Evian water. Okay, how about that? And near and dear to my heart is if you live in tax-free Delaware or low taxes, you can also then, you know, I guess a lot of you might be thinking soda when you look at one of these, but I think beer. So you can, you know, you'll have some extra dollars from your tax savings that you can ditch your can of Pabst Blue Ribbon, and you can slip in this nice little gadget, a bottle of high-quality microbrew made here in Dover, Delaware, Fordham and Old Dominion. So with that, I think that was about all I had. I wanted to thank you know, Noble's Pond for inviting me out here. Hopefully it was somewhat informative. It's tough to cover a whole lot on tax in 15 minutes or so, and I know I ran over, so I do apologize for that. But help yourself. There's plenty of these little things that I just displayed to you in the back, and I really don't care to take it back to the office. Thanks a lot.